Quiet people aren't weak, they're strategic. The loudest person in the room is rarely the one with power. They're usually the one trying to prove they have it. Real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't rush to be understood. And it definitely doesn't explain itself. If you've been told you're too quiet, too reserved, or that you can't be read, this video is for you. Because understand this, that was never an observation. It was a complaint. A complaint that your presence isn't easily controlled. A complaint that your silence doesn't offer reassurance. A complaint that people can't predict you. Silence isn't a flaw, it's leverage. We live in a world that confuses noise with influence because noise is easy to mistake for power. It's visible, it's measurable, it looks impressive from the outside. When something is loud, constant, and always being broadcast, people assume it must matter. That's why endless opinions, non-stop talking, and oversharing every thought in real time often gets mistaken for authority. But visibility isn't power, and attention isn't control. The people with real influence don't rush to speak because they don't need validation to feel secure. Silence makes people uncomfortable because it removes their ability to predict you. And unpredictability is powerful. Loud people talk to control the narrative. Quiet people observe to control the outcome. The more someone explains themselves, the more they reveal insecurity. They rush to speak. They justify every move. They need immediate agreement to feel stable. That urgency isn't confidence. It's fear of losing control. Power doesn't beg for attention, it attracts it. And silence forces people to lean in. When you're quiet, people start projecting onto you. They wonder what you know. They question what you're thinking. They try to read between lines that don't exist. And the moment people start guessing, you're already ahead. Silence gives you information. While others are talking, you're listening. While others are reacting, you're calculating. Quiet people notice patterns others miss. They pick up on tone shifts. They catch inconsistencies. They read what isn't being said. And here's what most people don't realize. When you're quiet in a room, you're not absent. You're present in a different frequency. You're watching how people speak when they're trying to impress. You're noticing who talks to be seen and who talks to be heard. You're clocking who needs agreement and who is comfortable standing alone. You're observing reactions before words, body language before explanations, energy before intention. That's why silence is often mistaken for passivity. Because most people don't recognize power unless it's loud, visible, and constantly performing. But the strongest person in the room isn't the one talking the most. It's the one sitting back, observing the room, decoding dynamics, and deciding how or if they'll engage. They're not rushing to prove anything. They're gathering information. And here's what usually happens next. When people can't read you, they start writing stories about you. They fill in the silence with assumptions, not because you gave signals, but because silence gives them no script to follow. And most people don't know how to sit with the uncertainty of the unknown without turning it into discomfort. Which brings us to the part most people never say out loud. Quiet people make insecure people nervous. Silence doesn't reassure. It doesn't confirm status. It doesn't feed ego. When you don't rush to speak, you disrupt the illusion and the hierarchy built on it. People start wondering, why aren't they reacting? What do they know? Why don't they need approval? And instead of asking themselves those questions, they project discomfort onto you. They call you distant. They call you intimidating. They say you're hard to read. That discomfort isn't your problem. It's proof your presence carries weight. Let's be clear. Silence isn't about minimizing. It's about restraint. There's a difference between being quiet and being silenced. Being silenced is when you want to speak but don't feel safe enough to. It's when your voice gets smaller because you learned that speaking costs you something. Approval, peace, stability, safety. That kind of silence comes from fear. But quiet power is different. Quiet power is intentional. It chooses when to speak and when not to. It's not the absence of a voice, it's the presence of discernment. Powerful silence doesn't come from not knowing what to say. It comes from knowing exactly what you could say and deciding it's not worth your energy. Powerless silence avoids conflict. Powerful silence controls it. One is self-erasure, the other is self-mastery. You don't speak less because you have nothing to say. You speak less because not everything deserves access to you. Not every moment needs your explanation. Not every reaction needs your response. Not every opinion deserves a seat at your table. That's not weakness, that's discipline. That's the kind of restraint that only comes when you trust yourself enough to not perform for validation. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed people get uncomfortable when you don't over-explain, don't react, don't rush to speak? They say things like, I can't read you. You know exactly what I mean. Drop a star emoji in the comments if your silence has ever made someone nervous, because that reaction says more about them than it ever did about you. And that leads to the truth most people miss. Silence isn't about protection, it's about selection. Your quiet filters out people who need noise to feel powerful. It exposes who respects presence and who only respects performance. Anyone who needs you to be louder is usually uncomfortable with how much power you already carry. Silence isn't hiding, it's refinement. Your silence isn't a weakness, it's your leverage, your superpower. You don't need to change how you move to make other people comfortable. The right people already feel your presence without you saying a word. And if that's you, make sure you're subscribed. This channel is for women who don't need to be loud to be undeniable.